It is not worth the bother of killing yourself, since you always kill yourself too late.
In this single sentence, Emil Cioran distills the essence of his bleak, almost musical pessimism. His thought lives at the intersection of irony and despair, where even suicide, the ultimate rejection of existence, is rendered meaningless by the cruel timing of consciousness itself. To understand Cioran's statement, we must recognize that it is not the melodrama of a man yearning for death, but the logical endpoint of a philosopher who has dissected every justification for life and found each one hollow. Cioran begins by undercutting the act of suicide with the phrase, "not worth the bother." The word bother trivializes the gravest act a human can commit. This is not flippancy, it's philosophical anatomy. Cioran exposes a cosmic absurdity. Even in deciding to end one's life, one must exert will, effort, purpose. But in his worldview, will itself is a symptom of delusion, the final desperate gasp of a creature clinging to significance. Killing oneself thus becomes an act of belief. Belief that timing matters, that an action can restore meaning or control. For Cioran, this is laughable. Existence mocks all such gestures. The futility is doubled when he adds, "since you always kill yourself too late." The timing of death, voluntary or otherwise, always trails behind the loss of meaning. The moment when suicide might have made sense, if sense were possible, has already passed, swallowed by the slow erosion of will, desire, and identity. By the time you decide to escape life, life has already escaped you. Cioran once wrote that he felt posthumous, as though he had died but continued moving. That sense of afterlife within life permeates this line. To live, for him, is to outlive oneself, to go on beyond the point where anything vital remains. Every act, even suicide, becomes retrospective. We exist always a few beats too late, condemned to lag behind the immediacy of our own decay. This is not melodrama, it's metaphysics. He sees consciousness as a wound that can never close because it's always a reflection, a moment behind the event. The self is perpetually late to its own experience. Thus, you always kill yourself too late means that awareness of the unbearable arrives only when action no longer matters. Thought comes after life, and in thinking, we are already ghosts. What makes Cioran distinct from pure nihilists like Zapfi or mainline existentialists is his tone. He smiles at the void. His irony is not mere bitterness, it's the only form of grace he allows himself. In calling suicide not worth the bother, he turns despair into a wry shrug, a smirk in the face of metaphysical catastrophe. This mockery, paradoxically, is his form of resistance. If life is absurd, the only freedom left is to laugh at its absurdity. That is Cioran's grim mercy, humor as the last refuge of the disillusioned. He transforms despair into an aesthetic experience. Even death, stripped of tragedy, becomes farce. To Cioran, both hope and despair are forms of engagement with the world, signs that one still expects something from it. He transcends both. His is a serene nihilism, the calm of one who has exhausted every illusion and found no reason to fight. It is not worth the bother is not cynicism. It's final liberation from the compulsion to seek justification. The tragedy, of course, is that even liberation has no reward. There is no peace beyond the awareness of futility, only a quiet lucidity. Cioran's entire philosophy is built on this thin thread, the acceptance that nothing redeems existence, yet consciousness persists. In the end, this quote reads like a eulogy to the idea of human agency. You cannot win against existence, because to resist it is to affirm it. Even in negating life, you remain its captive. Cioran's brilliance lies in seeing this not as an argument for endurance, but as a cosmic joke. It is not worth the bother of killing yourself since you always kill yourself too late. In other words, the tragedy of life is not that it ends, but that it continues, long after it should have. And yet, in articulating this despair so beautifully, Cioran achieves a kind of inverted redemption. His words, bleak as they are, transmute suffering into art. That, perhaps, is his final irony. That from the conviction of meaninglessness, he created sentences that will outlive us all.